Tamastu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The Katha Upanishad. We are on the last verse, 25th verse of the first chapter, second section, and we had seen, to recap a bit, we have seen how the Upanishad lays down a few conditions. That who is really competent to attain this spiritual knowledge? That's important, because it's obvious that whatever we do, in whatever field we are, we need to be trained. If you are going to be a musician, you've got to be trained by a musician, and you've got to practice. If you want to be a sculptor, you want to be a lawyer or a doctor, everything needs a period of instructions and preparations. That's practice. And as we proceed, then we get to become competent in that particular field of endeavor. Same is true with spiritual knowledge. With spiritual knowledge also, you need to be instructed with a particular doctrine, in a particular doctrine, especially this subtle doctrine of the Atman. And then one needs to get down and practice. Why is practice necessary? Because that knowledge has to become one with you. Most of our knowledge is second hand. Most of our knowledge is, I know this particular. That knowledge is kind of separate from me. This knowledge has to become part of you, part of the personality. And only then can we attain to some degree of realization. So the previous verse, the 24th verse, was one who has not desisted from bad conduct, whose senses are not under control, whose mind is not concentrated, whose mind is not free from anxiety about the result of concentration, cannot attain this self through knowledge. We had discussed this in a previous class, and we've seen that why is it necessary? Because when a person, suppose a person is restless, that person spreads himself or herself out. And this knowledge of the self, obviously, you have to go within, because the self is within you. So the more you spread yourself out, the more you engage with things, the more you are kind of in a turbulent, you can say, mode of existence. You've been buffeted by objects, people, places. It's very difficult for you to withdraw yourself, retract your senses, come back, because the senses are always going to kind of delude you. That is why they said these are the preliminary conditions. Yeah, you need to have one who has not desisted from bad conduct. There's another thing. So a person has to be exemplary. This is the groundwork of all spiritual endeavor. This is the groundwork of all spiritual knowledge. Without that, it's a far cry from what you profess and what you actually believe and actually what you practice and what you think. So in the end, we kind of delude ourselves that, oh yes, we are spiritual. but our conduct is bad. No, that won't do. So, bad conduct and senses are not under our control. That has to be put into place. Whose mind is not concentrated. Yeah. Generally, we can concentrate things outside. Kind of, it's quite easy to concentrate on a particular thing outside. An objective concentration. You might see a chess player or even a tennis player. For hours and hours, that person can concentrate. But when we're talking about concentration, it's internal concentration. And this internal concentration is very difficult. It is the mind itself is an object. The mind has two parts, a subjective side and objective side. So the mind is the subjective mind is concentrating itself on what you have heard about the self, the Atman. The objective mind comes and kind of distracts that concentration. So it's obvious that we need practice. And then after practicing concentration for a while and saying, there's nothing happening to me. What's happening? Nothing happening. Well, you should not be eager for the fruits also of that concentration, the results of the concentration. You must learn to surrender even your efforts, not only your fruits, to the feet of your chosen ideal. Yeah, well, the chosen ideal decides to give them all to me, I'll get it. So what do? I keep on practicing and practicing and practicing, not looking about for results, not looking about somebody else is looking at me, watching me, somebody's praising me. No. It's just that I keep on doing my stuff and not think about the results of that. And that is also one of the essential precepts of the Bhagavad Gita. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu. Your duty is to work and not to keep an eye on the results of that work. So the 25th verse now is, and this is as I mentioned, it's the last verse in this section. How can one know thus as to where it, that is the self, the Atman is? How can you know where the self is? But we have been told, we've been speaking about the self. Yeah, this is kind of summing up the whole chapter, because, like I said, it is inscrutable. You might be looking in a different place altogether. Like you might be looking in the heavens, or you might be looking in the temples and synagogue and mosque and churches. Where is it? So, saying, how can one know thus as to where the self is? It's obvious the self, you are the self, that self is within you, because you feel the idea of a self within you that holds everything together. But even here, there are very layers and layers of density of concentration and a density of consciousness. So you got to go down to the very bottom of it. That's the idea. You might stop after a couple of layers and say, hey, I've got it. You might end up in kind of duality. So this knowledge is kind of inscrutable. And not only inscrutable, it's also very grand and great. That's why I said the next line is, for which both the Brahmana and the Kshatriya become food, and for which death takes the place of a curry. Here, the Brahmanas, they are the ones who devoted their whole life to the pursuit of this knowledge. They cultivated. And they were the original teachers of this knowledge. So they know this very well. And the Kshatriyas, these were the warrior class of people. They were the ones who used to protect this knowledge, protect the troublemakers also, protect the trouble from the troublemakers, keep law and order so that society could function properly. If you have a group of scholars, but the scholarship is kind of disturbed by all these evil elements in society, it's constantly disrupted. So it's not going to help. It's like something like this. In these coronavirus crises, everything is kind of put on a hold. Stay at home. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't. So society has to be protected. The teachers have to be protected. So these were the class of people who were delegated this duty. And they were considered noble. They were very noble. The Brahmanas and these Kshatriyas are very noble. So this knowledge is so great that it dwarfs even the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas who are so noble. And even death. What death? Death is everywhere. Death is not even considered food. It's just a kind of a curry, a pickle type, as an afterthought. Even death has become dwarfed by this knowledge. So that's why he's saying, Yasya Brahma cha Shatram cha Ube Bhavata Odana. So, for which both the Brahmana and the Kshatriyas become food. Mrityu Rupa Sechanam cha. And for which death takes the place of a curry. Yeah, you can't just eat curry. You need to have something more, the real food to go along with the curry. You know? So even death has become kind of insignificant. This knowledge is so vast. These things are predominant in our lives. Death, yes, it's so important. So important, and we are struggling to push death away. In these difficult times, you know how things are. All these things are just to contain the death rate. But when you compare death even to this great knowledge, it becomes insignificant. And these Brahmanas and these Kshatriyas, oh my God, these kind of, they were the noble people. Noble in the sense, not because of money and all this name and fame, because of their very duties. They were supposed to protect spiritual knowledge. And to protect and to spread the spiritual knowledge was the greatest task given to these people. And so they had that kind of prestige. Oh yeah, they are spiritual people. They confer spiritual knowledge, protect spiritual knowledge. Because that is what actually runs the universe. The spirituality, not kind of life that is being dissipated on the lower levels of existence, sensory and all these. So that prestige, that nobility has been given. Even they become insignificant where this knowledge is concerned. So that's why they say, well, like that becomes like a kind of supplement to the food. Just upasechanam, like a kind of a pickle, you know. You have the food and that is just a pickle. It's not very important. So, being a person with an worldly intellect and devoid of any disciplines, how does a person, even such a person, can even know this thing? So that's the reason. How can one know? So the conditions have been put. You need to be perfectly ready. When you are at the starting line and you're going to run a race, you better be ready. Yeah. Otherwise you're saying, oh, I'll take my time. Okay. Who's that guy who's kind of directing us to be ready? No, I'm not ready. No, I'm not ready. You'll be dismissed. You'll be disqualified, as they say. Hey, get out. So when you are going to start to learn this knowledge, you better be ready. And what is the readiness? Well, this thing has been laid down in the previous verses. So that's why he's saying, where does the self exist? Well, the self exists. Why? Because we feel existence. We feel that the self also has to have knowledge because we know. And what's the dominant thing about us? Yeah, we love. We love this, we love that, we are constantly. This is the one greatest impelling power, the motive power. Now, somewhere deep down, we have a kind of a vague, you can say, understanding that it's okay, these are the things, these are the factors, and they are there within us. Now, how do we realize it? Where exactly it is? So, in order to zero down on the position or the location of that self, the Atman, this chapter has begun. The two previous two sections of the Upanishad have spoken about both the lower Brahman and the higher Brahman, or Brahman with qualities, or manifested Brahman, and the unmanifested Brahman, the Brahman without qualities. And also what is called ignorance and what is called knowledge. This also has been delineated. What is the purpose of this life? To realize the self, that also has been delineated. But it has been delineated sometimes in a very contradictory way. And with sitting here, it travels far. Sleeping, it goes everywhere. Asino duram rajati shayana. Who but us can know this kind of the self? So one may wonder, is this the definition of the self? Yes, but so where exactly is it located? So this chapter has begun in order to point out the location. Where you need to search, that's important. If you don't know where to search, you will go all over the place searching and you might end up finding nothing. That kind of well-known story. There's a guy who was searching for his coin that he had dropped, and he was searching under a street light, and then so some of his friends also joined him. Actually, not friends, they're passerbys. He said, what happened? So I dropped something and I'm searching for it. So they all three of them began searching. And after a long search, they couldn't find anything. You're sure you dropped it out here? Well, no, I'm not sure I dropped it out here, but I'm sure I dropped it out there in that. So why are you searching here for it? Well, there's light here, and so I'm kind of searching for this dropped coin here. It's dark there. That's the place he should have been searching for. So we might be in a kind of a position that we are looking for something which we feel this is more convenient, but we might be searching in the wrong place. Swami Vivekananda constantly speaks about, people ask me about a comfortable religion. What do you mean? There's no kind of such thing as a comfortable religion. There is no religion called a comfortable religion. Religion or spirituality takes you out of your comfort zone and puts you in a place where you need to struggle and push and fight, and you are responsible for your own self, no one else. No one to praise, no one to blame, not God, no nature, no man, nobody. You've got to do it yourself. Why? Because that's a place where we can grow. Otherwise, we'll have big problems. So this chapter has begun with this idea. I'll read the English and then we'll read the Sanskrit. The nose of Brahman. Who's going to tell you about where exactly the guys who know it? That's the reason why I say the nose of Brahman. Then the other just nose of Brahman know about it? Or can say where exactly it is? No. The worshippers of the five fires. There is another very highly evolved spiritual disciplines which has been spoken of in some of the Upanishads called the Chandogya and Brihad Aranyaka. And those who perform the Nachiketa sacrifice thrice. This has been enumerated here in this Upanishad, where the god of death teaches Nachiketa the sacrifice where the boy can attain the Saguna Brahman, the Brahman that has been manifested as universe, the Virat. So you do it 3 times, you attain that. And the god of death he had promised him, I will teach you that, and he also named that sacrifice after that boy, Nachiketa. So, the Nachiketa sacrifice. So, those who know the absolute Brahman and those who also know the highest reach of relative reality. So, both you can say, the monks and the householders. Because the worshippers of the five fires are generally householders. But not the ordinary householders who are interested in eating and drinking and partying and this and that. No, these are the guys who have elevated themselves at kind of the peak of spiritual disciplines. So the knowers of Brahman, obviously they know, because otherwise you won't be a knower of Brahman. The worshippers of the five fires, the highest reach of relative existence, those who worship not just particular gods or goddesses or symbols or anything, but they worship the worship consists in worship of the universe. We'll take later the five fires, the Nachiketa sacrifice, the one who performs the Nachiketa sacrifice, one who has performed it 3 times, Nachiketa sacrifice, which is also the realization of the manifested Brahman, the universal reality or universal person, as they say. It's not we know, we can understand, I'm a person, this is the person, that is the person, that's a thing. You bring the whole thing together, bring all the people, all the persons, all the living beings, all the species which are seen and unseen and everything, and make them into a collective. Who knows them? These guys which are being spoken of, they know. And these guys who know, they speak about, what do they speak? So, the knowers of Brahman, the worshippers of the five fires, the Panchagni, and those who perform the Nachiketa sacrifice 3 times, Trinachiketa. What do they say? They compare the self like there are 2 selves, they say. And the 2 selves are likened to light and shade, darkness. Compared to light and shade, the two enjoyers, two enjoyers, two experiences. So there are two that are within you. Okay. What do they experience? The results, the inevitable results of work. Why work? Yeah, this world is a work of karma. This whole world is wrought by karma, manufactured, modified, translated, built by karma. So, and where has these two entities, which are likened to light and shade, they have entered into the body, into the cavity of the heart. Cavity of the heart, yeah. Why? Because that is the abode of the Most High Brahman. Well, kind of, when you see two have entered within here, they are likened to light and shade. They are both are experiences of what? Of the results of work, of results of karma. Okay, we'll go through this.
Light and darkness.
Yeah, light and darkness. So you thought you had one. Well, you have another one. So there are two. Why is that?
One was hard enough.
You're finding one was hard enough, and now you have another one to add. What's that? But there's a distinction between the two. And what's the distinction? That is, say, two selves are presented because to distinguish between the attainer and the attained. There's a person, there's a self, you attain. Obviously, all your spiritual practices and all these things, the results of work and all these things, or the goal and the goer or the traveler. Oh, you're supposed to attain that. Well, attain, who attains that? And what does one attain? Well, there's one attainer, one who seeks, who commences the path of knowledge, and then that guy, the first guy, he attains that. That is the goal, and this is the one who seeks, the seeker and the goal. So we have two. Yeah, like Asim said, one is difficult enough, and kind of, yeah. Before we can get into it, I think in a few other classes that I said, there are three types of spaces. One is the external space called the Maha Akash. It has to be there because your body is located in space. The moment it's located in space, it's also, you can also say it's located in time. So that's why it's space-time. You know that you have a mind. You know you have a body, fine. Okay, this has to be located in space. You know you have a mind. Well, everybody knows that. Yeah, I have a mind. I can think. Like this René Descartes says, I think, therefore I am. Well, that I am, where does that exist? It's called the Chittakash, the mind space. How large is it? It is large and large, very large. Your mind, my mind, everybody's mind is located in that space. If you think, yeah, I have a mind, I think, well, you got to locate it here in that space. There's a third space. It's called a Chidakash, the knowledge space. It is spoken of as space, but really it is not space at all, because it is more extensive, more pervasive, it is everywhere. And there, like, space time ends where there's a black hole. You know? There's no space and time in the black hole. The laws of physics stop there at the event horizon. So, the great space, elemental space outside, Mahakash, the mind space where all minds are distributed in it, they end on that event horizon of the Chidakash.
So Mahakash and Chidakash in there both?
Chittakash. Chittakash is mind space.
Yes. And also Mahakash?
Mahakash is external space.
Ah, okay.
And Chid Akash. Chid man consciousness Akash. Existence. Ha. So why is it then called space? Chidakash. Knowledge space. In reference to the other two spaces, it's called space. So it is here in that knowledge space that these two have entered. Got this? So, fine. This is understood. So I'll read the Sanskrit. Ritam pibanto sukritasya loke guham pravristo parame parardhye chaya tapo brahmavido vadanti panchagnayo ye cha trinachiketa. Well, Ritam pibanto. Ritam. You know what is Ritam? You all chant Om, Ring, Ritam. In this context here, Ritam means truth. Okay. It's also Satyam. It's also the name of Ritam is Satyam. Another name of the same thing is Dharmam, or spirituality, or religion, or righteousness, or whatever. That's why righteousness is righteousness. You've got to be right, truthful. Satyam is to be truthful, and Ritam is Ritam. So this whole universe is based on truth. And as long as you can orient your life with that truth, this life becomes meaningful. This life becomes truthful. Or this life becomes its opposite. Okay. Pibanto. Actually, the word is drink. Piba. Pib is to drink. Pibanto. These two guys drink. What do they drink? No, that's kind of a lakshana. It's saying it in an indirect way. Experiences. These two guys experience this truth. Sukritasya, those who is to do, the doers of good, the doers of work. Loke is in this body. Why? Because it is the abode of an experience. Whatever you experience, suppose you're experiencing this, but where does the experience exist? It exists here with the experiencer. This is better. So whatever you experience has to have an experiencer. And that experience is here. You may see that particular picture and this piano and these chairs and tables. But who sees? Who's experiencing all these things? Experiencer. So this experiences. So here, Ritam Pibanto Sugratlam. Guham means Guhayam. Here they have entered. Pravisto. They have entered into the cavity of the heart. Oh, really? So the heart has a cavity, the spiritual heart. Why? Because when you see things from outside, you may not realize there's a cave there. Only when you come closer, oh, there's a mouth of the cave here, so there has to be a cave there. You see a mouth and you go. From a distance, the mouth of the cave must be hidden by bushes or rocks or trees or whatever. You may not be aware of it. Only when you come up close, oh, this is the cave. Or not only that, it's a whole cave system, like you have in, like in Indonesia, Malaysia, all the huge cave systems, no, underground, subterranean. They go for miles and miles and miles and miles.
We have those here too. Just they're made by the cartels.
Ha! Well. That's a nice one. But those are technically called tunnels. Ah. So that's the reason why they have entered into the cave. Parame. And what's that cave? Is it a kind of a dark, dank, dirty, small? No. That is Parama. That is highest. Highest what? Say the highest or supreme abode of the Most High. That's Brahman. That is where you need to search that Brahman now. That is the abode. So now you have located the place where you need to search. And who searches? You. The guy who's calling himself or herself as an experiencer. Oh, I see. Where is that experiencer? Find that experiencer. Where's that experiencer? Where does that guy exist? That guy, you search everywhere around you in your body and your mind, you might not find that experiencer. You try to search, where is I? Where is I? It's a kind of a diffused feeling all over that I could be here, I am here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, everywhere. Like, you tap your head and then you close your eyes and see. If you can feel that tap, then it's the third eye. You're awakened the third eye. Wow. Kind of nutty way of opening or trying to understand the third eye. So you are the experiencer. You are the sense of that I experience. Where has that guy gone? That guy has gone in that cave of that heart.
Can you only see that cave if you're competent, though?
Yeah, you might be searching around the mouth of the cave, and the mouth of the cave might be hidden. You might not even realize. That's what had happened with this. There's a cave system, not a cave system, that they were carved, during the Buddhist period, late about 2000 years in India. It's called the Ellora caves. There was an Englishman was kind of hunting a tiger, and he was following its tracks, and the tiger had disappeared in some dense trees. And this guy was tracking. As he was tracking, he came upon caves and caves and caves built by monks, whole temples cut out of rock, like a solid hill was hollowed out just by chiseling it out. And they built temples and pillars and meditation rooms and everything, the whole thing. They painted frescoes and all. Oh, it was kind of lost for about more than 2000 years. And it was discovered. Hey, what's this? Look at this. So same thing might happen with us also. You might be moving around here and there. Where is it? And suddenly you might come across it. But now you know where you're going to come across it. You know the exact location of this. So because of that tiger, it tried to escape from that gunshot. He had escaped there. So we have the mantra now. We are being led to that place there.
So it would be the innermost core of the heart.
Yes, innermost core of the heart. So
And the password is the mantra.
the password is the mantra. Is actually it will kind of like in this. You have these stories, Aladdin and the magic lamp.
Yeah.
So it has open sesame. In India we say Khulja Sim Sim, and the mouth, the cave opens, and and all the riches and all have been stacked inside.
Abre de sésamo in Portuguese.
Ah, Avrit. Avrit.
Abre de sésamo.
It's Avrit. In Sanskrit is Avarana. It's closed. Avriti means to remove.
Abre de sésamo.
Haha. So, interesting. How language kind of. So, this guy, he hears the password. Open sesame, man. Those thieves, they leave, and then this guy goes in. Wow. Opens the whole cave and gets that whole treasure. The treasure is for him now. Ali Baba and the 40 thieves. And
So all these seeker for treasure stories throughout all of myths, they're just stories of the attainer and the attained.
Yes, the attainer and the attained. Even like this, the alchemist, it was very kind of. He seeks that treasure, and then he takes a whole circuit, and he's helped around, and then he starts to understand the place where he started from was the place where the treasure. He was more or less led on a wild goose chase. But it took that wild chase for him to realize that it is actually where he is. So that is what. So the experiencer has entered into that cave. Okay. So Ritam, as we have seen, these two experiences of truth. Why is truth? Because of the results of work. The results of work is true. You do something, you do anything, it's going to come back to you. There is nothing as unerring and indestructible as that work and the results of that work. It comes to you, has to come to you. Nothing can stop it. So that's why I say that it's inevitable. That's why it's called true rhythm. So whatever you do, you are going to get the results of it. It's inevitable. The inevitability is called that rhythm. Yeah. So, at times when you say we are doing so much, we don't seem to be getting anything. Of course, you don't have to think about when you will get it and why you're not getting it. But the very fact that rhythm means that in this context it's inevitable, it's true, it will come to you, it has to come to you. Because that experience has set in motion certain things and it's going. So, two have entered inside in this cave of the heart. But we know that the Atman is all pervading. How can they kind of enter into a place where, when it's all pervading? Well, the Upanishad says so, but then Vedanta will say, you see, it is all pervading, but it appears as if they have entered into the cave of the heart. What is the cave of the heart? Your antakaran, your inner instrument, the mind, intellect, memory, and the sense of I. This is the cave. So you know where to search now. So one who does, who experiences it, that guy has entered the experiencer, because the experience has to be in the mind. The sense of I is in the mind. The sense of memory of I experienced this is also in the mind. I am the doer is also in the mind. So what about the other guy? The other guy? Say it's like, the analogy is given when a king, in the old days in India, we had all these rajas and the maharajas and all these kind. When the Raja, the king used to go, there was a very big umbrella, huge. And the king is walking and his attendants and courtiers are kind of holding that umbrella. And people are saying, oh, see the umbrellas are going out there. The umbrellas are going. Actually, it's only one guy with that umbrella, a big umbrella. But everyone associated with that king is called the Chatrina, those associated with the umbrellas. They could have said, the king is passing by. Say, no, the big umbrella is passing by. So they know, indirectly they know, it's a king, because only the king can have that kind of huge umbrella. The other guys have to just hold it for him. So the other guy, because of the association with the experiencer, is also called an experiencer. In reality, it is not an experiencer. Why? Because we will come down to it in the following this. So the analogy now is, in the previous verses we have seen what the self is like. Here, a kind of illustration of a chariot, and a charioteer is given to illustrate it. We'll come down to it there, not now. Here we can say that there is one who experiences, and due to the association with that experience, the other one also has been called an experiencer. In the Mundaka Upanishad, the illustration is given as two birds, one bird lower and one bird higher. The higher bird is the real self, and the lower bird is the reflected self. So this light and shade, the light is the real self, and its shadow is that individual self, the experiencer. Got this? Mm-hmm. So because of that association, they're both.
They both perceive this, but not really.
Yeah, they have entered into the cave of the heart. We stop here for today. We take this up next Wednesday morning, 10:30. And for those who are here on this side, can also know that we are live streaming it also on Vedanta.org. The same thing.
And for those that are in Vedanta.org?
And for those who are Vedanta.org, know that we are streaming it on Swami Satyamayananda channel. The problem with this Satyamayananda channel, as we've seen, the connection kind of blinks on and off. Though your connection is unstable, please wait while we try reconnecting. This has been a constant theme of so that's so.
And if you want to keep getting the notifications, subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, you can subscribe to this channel, those who like to have this notification of these Katha Upanishad classes. Okay. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.